What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily Grind Fantasy official NBA live stream. As you guys can see, there's a missing picture here at the top. That is TJ. We are just waiting for him. Let me go ahead and hide that real quick so that we don't have to look at that gray screen. There we go. TJ will be here in about 5 minutes or so. He's just coming back from work right now. So in the meantime, I'm gonna name the stream. I'm gonna be the only guy here, so hopefully you guys don't mind for only about 5 to 10 minutes. How's everybody doing? First of all, this is a crazy NBA slate. It's 11 games. We have a ton of games to be covering. More specifically, we need to talk about the Clippers. The Clippers right now, we expected Kawhi Leonard to sit on a back-to-back. Right now, we have injury news coming in that he's expected to play. I believe he's still technically, he didn't even make the injury report, but that's up in the air right now. So if he is going to play, we're obviously going to be all off the Clippers train. And then there's a questionable tag on Paul George. So there's a lot of injury news to be paying attention to here to start the evening. All right. So let's go ahead and start out by talking about each and every one of these pictures. Starting out with the Houston game, we have Christian Wood, who's technically questionable. We have House, Jones, Martin, McLemore, all out for them. For the Pacers, we have Bidadas, Bowen, Lamb, Warren, all out. Cleveland, just a mess, just a complete mess of injuries here. We have Love, Windler, Dellavedova, Exum, Garland, Porter, all out. For Orlando, we have Fournier, Aminu, Michael Carter-Williams out. What's going on, guys? This is going to be tough. I'm going to be the only guy talking for about 10 minutes here. For Philly, we have Korkmaz, Mike Scott out. For the pending injury news from Boston, that's a huge one. We're waiting on Marcus Smart. We're waiting on Jeff Teague. And then Miami, we're without Harkless and Vincent as of right now. Atlanta is without Dunn, Gallinari, Rondo, and Snell. And then with Charlotte, we're without Cody Zeller, and that's also a pace-up game. With the New York Knicks, we have Bullock, Noel, Burks, Frank, and Toppin all out. With Utah, we have Brantley, Morgan still questionable. I mean, there's literally injury news all the way around the slate. With Chicago, we have Ryan, Hutchinson, Markkanen, and Satoransky all out. And then Sacramento, we have Jeffries and Parker technically out. Halliburton, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Apparently, I was pronouncing it wrong a few streams ago. He's technically questionable. So let's start out with what we have so far. With Cleveland, we have a bunch of injury news currently out for Cleveland. So like I said, let's start there because we know what to expect with them. I want to talk about them because they have a very, very thin rotation and a 5-point spread. The 214.5 over under. It's supposed to be relatively close, I guess. Cleveland, the last time these guys played, which was a few nights ago, they put up only 83 points. Vegas projects them to score 104.75. And if we just look at the roster, I mean, literally look at these guys. They're without Exum now for about 2 weeks. Thank goodness it wasn't an Achilles. I believe that was a concern. It was an Achilles tear. It's not that. I believe he's only out for a couple weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Out 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, so it's a little bit longer than I thought, but it wasn't a full season, so that's good. We have Love, Windler, Dellavedova, Garland, and Porter all out. All of these minutes are going to all these guards, okay? Sexton right now is projected at 38 minutes. Drummond is projected at 31 minutes. Nance is projected at 35. Okay, Osman is projected at 30, JaVale McGee projected at 16, Dotson projected at 31, and Okoro projected at 31. So the one thing I want you guys to be paying attention to, just looking at this roster, just the amount of minutes that we're looking at. With Cleveland, there's so many minutes to be going around. Sexton, I don't even think he played close to 38 minutes last game. He played 39. He's expected to play over 40 minutes if this game does remain relatively close, and he's only a $7,200 price tag. All right, at 15.7%. I start out with these guys because these guys aren't obvious. And if we have injury news before the slate about the Clippers, these guys are going to be relatively good chalk. Okay, Andre Drummond is projected at 31 minutes. I think that's going to be higher. With everybody off the court that we have specifically right now on the injury list, these guys only have about 40 to 50 minutes in sample size. And it doesn't paint that good of a picture. Sexton averages like 0.8 fantasy points per minute, but that's not going to be the reality in this game. The reality is that Drummond and Sexton are both going to have extreme usage. They're going to be the only two players scoring throughout this entire game, and I really do like them. $8,600 for Drummond. We saw him get up to 9.2K, and I just believe this makes for good chalk. Right now, they're showing under-owned. Drummond is going to be chalky, and I think he becomes a necessity at 21.6%. That's the only high-owned guy, but Sexton's flying under the radar. Nance is also flying under the radar at 2.3%. Osman at 1.9%. So all of these guys are going to be great GPP/core and cash options for the slate. I wanted to start out here because this team has a tremendous amount of injury news. Thank you, Sean, for the subscription. Really appreciate that. There's TJ, right? But yeah, I wanted to start out there just because of the amount of injuries that we're looking at. John, thank you so much. Hopefully the subscriptions don't keep coming in here, because that's what happens. Like, you guys subscribe earlier in the day and then just now catches up. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. All right, I'm gonna pause that real quick, and I'm not gonna congratulate or thank everybody for subscribing real quick. Hold on, let me go ahead and pause the alert. I'm pausing the alert bar for now so that doesn't pop up for the whole stream. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the slate here. So let's talk strategy. For the Clippers, right now, we don't know the injury designation on Kawhi Leonard. He's not on the injury report right now. We can only expect he's going to play. There was a theory in the Discord that that Kawhi Leonard could potentially go out, do the tip-off, and then sit the rest of the game, which I think is a realistic possibility. The reason is because this is a nationally televised event, and they will fine people that decide to rest their starters. At least the NBA will. I think that's a new rule that they implemented this season, and we know Kawhi Leonard rests on back-to-backs. They played last night, and actually Paul George was out. So that's the reason why we all expect Kawhi Leonard to sit. But right now he's not in the injury report, so it's a little confusing, and that's why the theory popped up that Kawhi Leonard could potentially go out and do the tip-off and then sit the rest of the game. I don't know how it would work out with the NBA. I don't know. It's all conspiracy theory right now. But if one of these two guys with Paul George or Kawhi Leonard is held out, the usage rate goes through the roof with all these guys. I showed you on the video. Ibaka is getting like a 7% usage rate. He's averaging over 1.2 something fantasy points per minute. Patrick Beverley, we saw what he did last night. He hit like 6 3-pointers. He probably won't do that again, but the $4,000, he's an automatic buy. Ibaka, 5.7K is just crazy. Nicholas Batum, who did very well. I think he scored fantasy points as well. 40 fantasy points, 4.9K at 0.5% ownership. All of these guys, he wouldn't be on the injury. Yeah, but he will be on the injury report if he is resting. That's how the NBA does it, at least. So yeah, we should not expect this news at least until after lock. So here's the strategy for the slate. What's going on, Sano? Here's what we're going to be doing for the slate. In GPPs, because we expect one of the two, either Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, to sit, what you guys need to do, at least in one GPP, if you play multiple lineups, then you need to do this in a couple of your lineups. If you're playing one big GPP, you need to do this in at least one of them, okay? Don't play anybody unless they are very necessary, at least in the very early games. Wait until all this injury news clears. If Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or both are held out, load up on the clips, just like last night. I know Sano made money doing this. I know Elite, he got second place in the big GPP, winning $10,000. So you guys can get away with this, okay? Yep, we all need DFS to clear ahead after today, absolutely. But you guys need to load up. The big night, the late night hammer is absolutely necessary, specifically for the slate. We all need to Oh, sorry, just got a donation. Do you like pivoting from George to Beal if Kawhi does play? Also, Ingram or Tobias Harris? I personally like Bradley Beal. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And also, if Kawhi does play, yes, specifically, I mean, I can get behind George if Kawhi does or does not play, and I definitely like Beal overall, but we'll talk about that in just a second. I want to address the Clippers, okay? So, in one of your GPPs, do not play the early games if you're looking for a big takedown. The early night hammer or the late night hammer will definitely work in your favor if you load up on this team. The usage is just way too high on somebody like Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. But that is the strategy. All right, so until we hear the injury news, let's talk about some of these other plays. Let's go ahead and look at the Vegas totals right now. Philly and Washington are the highest over-under with 235. Atlanta and Charlotte, 232.5. We're looking at Milwaukee and Detroit at a 226.5. Sacramento and Chicago, 228. And then Golden State versus the Clippers, 230 over-under. So let's talk about this Washington and Philly game. I want to talk about the Washington side. The one thing with these guys is that they're all overpriced. So they're all really GPP oriented. All the price tags are above what they should be. Right now, Russell Westbrook at a 10.2K price tag, 11% ownership. Hachimura at 5.1K, 2.8%. Bertans, 1.5%. I don't know what it is about the Washington Wizards and these big over-unders, but these guys are always so low owned. So I love Russell Westbrook at 11%. Hachimura, again, 2.8%. All of these guys are in play. And Bradley Beal, a 9K price tag, only at 1.1%. In these high over-unders like Brooklyn, he just tends to slam value. Sorry, I keep looking down at my phone because I'm waiting for a notification from TJ here. Yeah, Bradley Beal slams his over and these high over-unders. 54.5, he played in 36 minutes. We had Thomas Bryant in a high over-under, slam his value at 45. So all of these guys are really, really low. And they'll continue to be low. I don't understand. It's just because of the price tag. Nobody wants to pay up for these guys. Russell Westbrook is the most obvious play at 11%. But if you're going to be taking GPP options, definitely look towards this Washington-Philly game. Definitely can get behind that, 100%. On the flip side, Danny Green, a 3.8K price tag, only projected to play in 26 minutes. A very good value play in my opinion. I'm surprised he's not chalkier because 3.8K, he's hit value in his last two games and he's only played 23 and 26 minutes. He's projected at 26 minutes right now. Like I said, 3.8K, so you only have to get to 18 DK points. He's gotten that in pretty much every single game except for the games that he's only played 18, 17 minutes. Okay, really, really like this in the pace of spot. Danny Green is honestly a very good value option as of right now without the Clippers news, but definitely in a great spot, really. Ben Simmons at 9.7K, 8.8K, just a GPP option for me. Same thing with Seth Curry, 5.4K. Joel Embiid, 9.9K, 8.9% owned. All of these guys are so low owned in this Washington-Philadelphia game. If you're looking for a last-minute spot, feel free to load up on these guys. This is the highest over-under on the slate, and it's only a 6-point spread right now. All right. And also that Milwaukee-Detroit game has actually come down in the spread. That was at a 14 when it opened up, which is exactly what the last game was. So definitely like that. I also want to talk about the chalk here in Charlotte. So Charlotte with PJ Washington, his price tag has been coming down, but he's been playing less minutes. Right now he's projected at 27 minutes. He played 27 minutes in the last game. Oh, you called me on Discord. Hold on, guys. Connecting with TJ. Yo.
Hey.
Hold on. Let me show your face. There you are. The reason I wasn't getting your update is because I have you muted, so.
What else is new? Hi, everybody. Hi.
Yeah, as you know, we're in the middle of a stream.
Yep.
All right, so I was talking about Charlotte, so perfect timing because we have some chalk here from Charlotte. PJ Washington at 26.5%, LaMelo Ball 22%. We still have no idea what to expect with minutes from LaMelo Ball. Right now, he's getting about 30 or 32 minutes-ish, so at 22%, definitely like him for chalk. The thing with the Charlotte Hornets is that they're in the pace-up spot. I definitely like PJ Washington. I like LaMelo Ball for cash. And then Gordon Hayward, don't know how I feel about him yet, but TJ, let me hear your thoughts.
All right, so give me 1 second.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, I have my sheet. This is what I needed. I literally just got in and sat down. So yes, Matt, looking at my sheet currently, LaMelo Ball actually rates out fantastically, even at 6K. We've seen the way they've implemented him in the minutes that he's gotten off of the bench, played fantastic against Philly. He's had some really good games, and he has a fantastic matchup going up against Atlanta. He is currently averaging 1.24 fantasy points off the bench in a 23.3% usage rate. I think he's a fantastic play in cash. I actually really like him tonight in this pace-up spot against Atlanta. PJ Washington, again, another guy that's carrying some ownership, and rightfully so. He also rates out 1.07 fantasy point per minute with Zeller off the floor. He gets a 1.4% usage bump, 24% usage rate. He's a 6.3 on our sheet, Matt. I think both are viable for cash. And then you mentioned my guy Gordo. Probably somebody that I could see myself landing on in cash too at 7,400. I have a lot of interest in this in Charlotte. I don't know if I'll have 3 of them in cash, but I'll definitely have some exposure here for sure in this Atlanta matchup.
Yeah, so the thing I led with, TJ, on the slate, because we're all waiting this Clippers news, okay? We have
what did I miss on the Clippers news? All I saw is Kawhi's good to go, correct?
Kawhi's not officially good to go. There's just nothing on him. So that's yeah. We're still pending the Paul George news because he's technically questionable with an ankle. So it's not really what we're waiting for. It's how we should approach this, TJ, because realistically, we should expect something from this game. We really should, whether it's Paul George sitting or Kawhi Leonard. So I guess my question for you, and I already said this to viewers, for GPPs, for big GPPs, feel free to just wait for some roster spots for these guys, wait to make some late night pivots. But how do you approach this in cash specifically? That's the question.
I think the smart thing in cash is just to avoid it. I think there's some really high upside here in terms of tournaments. I think it's a messy situation that we see going on with Kawhi. So my understanding is that you're not allowed to rest players on nationally televised games. So I don't think they have the option to sit Kawhi. Pretty sure Kawhi has to play unless he is designated with some sort of injury, which he currently isn't. My assumption is he's good to go. Now, they could handle his minutes differently, Matt. Like, he could play 20 minutes. I just don't know if I see that. So I think they roll him out. He hasn't played in a back-to-back since 2017. So it's been a while. We've been so accustomed to watching him sit on these back-to-backs in one of the legs. So obviously, if he's out, Paul George becomes a fantastic play at 8,900. Pat Bev at 4K, Batum at 4,900. We saw those two guys play absolutely lights out last night against the Spurs. Lou is definitely an interesting guy. The minutes have been really weird for him. He played 20 minutes in his lap. Yeah. They've been weird, to say the least. So it's not something we're used to watching Lou come off the bench and only play, 20 to 22 minutes, especially with one of these big names like Paul George or Kawhi out. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good tournament play here. But for me, in terms of cash, I would avoid this situation. That's personally what I would be doing. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be avoiding it.
For cash, avoid it, and then for GPPs, go all in on it. That's what I said.
I don't know all in, but if they do something funky with Kawhi's minutes, or if he does end up sitting, they make up some sort of
Paul George could sit.
And if PG's out for sure, right back to the well with Pat Bev, Batum. I think Kennard's in play, Ibaka's in play. Obviously, if Kawhi plays and Paul George is out, Kawhi's in play. Monitor this. If you're playing tournaments, have some lineups set up where you have some room to pivot, especially late because they do play at 10. Have some interest or some plays that you have your lineup designed where you already have a game plan if Paul George is out. Maybe you have some exposure to that Chicago and Sacramento game already, and you can maneuver your way throughout your lineup that way. But this is definitely an intriguing play from the Clippers and something we haven't seen in 3 years on these back-to-back. So it's tough to call what actually is going to happen.
And another great point, TJ, for somebody who's doing this strategy for late night pivots and late night swaps, is you're not only looking at the Clippers, you're looking at some of these other teams. If they hypothetically happen to rule out somebody, you can still pivot. It doesn't just benefit you for the Clippers; it benefits you for the rest of the teams on the slate. And let's say all these teams end up being healthy and it's just a wash, you still have a very high over/under in 230 to be able to pivot to random players in that game. It's like worst case scenario, you're still looking at decent value, in my opinion. Like, I'd be okay with putting Kawhi Leonard or Bev or Ibaka in my lineup in the high over-under. I mean, worst case scenario, you're stuck with them. Oh, well, you're still looking at the high over-under. So I just love the strategy in general. And TJ, you've seen us take down plenty of slates by doing that. I remember New Orleans ruled out, I think it was Zion last season, and Brandon Ingram, I was able to pivot to him. JJ, I was literally pivoting to the entire roster.
I remember that,
yeah. And all of our members took down so many contests. So it really does change the way you look at DFS or NBA DFS in general by just waiting for those pivot spots. If you miss out on a huge person in one of the early games, it's like, oh well, you can still easily catch them if there's a late night pivot with all this value here in the Clippers game. But anyway, ran over. I just want to talk about that, how important it is. By the way, on Patreon, I tell you which players to pivot to. Last night, told you guys to pivot to pretty much everybody in the Clippers, and I know Sano specifically took down the $200 contest, and Elite did himself, took down, I think he took Lou Will. Yeah, of course he did. Lou Will, 20 points or something, and he still ended up winning $10,000. So amazing. Yep. Let's go to some other cash options. So I talked about Cleveland because they have nobody. I talked about the Washington-Philly game. Danny Green, does that pop out to you?
Not really.
Okay, because I actually like Danny Green for a value play. Okay. High upside with over-under. He's hit value in the past 2 games in the high over-under, and anytime he's played over 25 minutes, he's actually hit value. So hopefully that stays competitive. Charlotte talked about that chalk. What else do you want to talk about?
You don't have any interest in anybody in Cleveland?
I do. I have plenty of interest. I said that. I talked about them already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I talked about Sexton and how he's going to play 40-plus minutes. Andre Drummond at 31 projected right now. I think he's playing closer to 34. I think Drummond, TJ, is one of my automatic locks on the slate because he's guaranteed to play minutes even if he gets in foul trouble. He has literally no excuse to not play over 31 minutes. I think that's very conservative. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you there. I really like Drummond tonight, especially at his price tag. So I really like getting to him in cash. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say much more. I agree with you 100%.
How about Sexton?
Not as much. I'm making Drummond more of a priority than Sexton. Kelly Olynyk's predicted for 27 minutes now. Oh God. He's been so good. Yeah, not as much interest in Sexton, but I mean, he's gonna play 40 minutes. So if you do land on him in cash, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that. I do like Sexton for GPPs just because of his ownership. Again, playing 38+ minutes is always potential for great upside. You were talking about Kelly Olynyk. Are you prioritizing him in cash?
If he gets to start again, yeah, I think you can go at the Celtics bigs and Daniel Tyson, Tristan Thompson. I mean, even if he does come off the bench, the minutes that he's been playing have been great. So at 4,400, yeah, I think he's a pretty good cash option. Somewhere I'd like to land on for sure.
Also, I paused all of the notifications on our stream because they were flowing in. Apparently, your face is working now, so that's good news. I just unpaused it. Thank you, Adams, for the subscription. Guys, if you could do us all a favor and slam that like button, get us to the top of the search results so we can get more people in here, more people to the community. The GG family, thank you so much for the subscription. Really do appreciate it.
Are you calling us the GG family, or was that somebody
that's somebody that just Kevin Davis already donated that $5. I want to thank you again. With the Miami Heat, though, one thing I did notice, TJ, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. Jimmy Butler at 7.3K. He hasn't gotten a chance to play full minutes yet. But in his last game, he played 26 minutes. It was a blowout. I can only assume he's fully healthy. He has to be. He's fully back and fully rested. And he would have played full minutes if that game stayed close. Against your Boston Celtics, I think I like him a lot for a GPP option. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Butler tonight?
As the GPP option or cash?
Both. If you think you like him in cash.
Probably not for cash. I do like him as a tournament play. I think that price tag is way too cheap for Butler. So yeah, I can agree with you there. I think Tyler Hero starting has kind of taken away a little bit from his usage. But even still, that price tag is very cheap for a guy that could be, high 7, mid or low 8Ks. So I do like him as a tournament play.
Yeah, no, I really do like him. He's actually one of my favorite options. Celtics, yeah. Well, speaking of your Celtics, so what's going on with the point guards there?
Smart and Teague. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
My guess would be if any of those two sit, it's going to be Teague.
Yeah.
But we have to wait and see. So I think Smart's going to play. I think Teague is going to sit.
Is it a major thumb injury that Smart has?
No.
Okay.
Nope. It's I'm pretty sure it's just a sprain. So I don't think it's anything too significant. So So like I said, I think if either of those two sit between Smart and Teague, I think it's going to be Teague. I think Pritchard comes into play a little bit here. I like Pritchard a lot more if Smart and Teague are out, obviously, because he might not start. They might put Waiters at point again, but we saw what happened last time. Pritchard's going to come off the bench and play, 30 to 32 minutes. So I think he becomes a cash lock for me.
23% usage too.
Yeah, if Smart and Teague are both out, I really like him at 4,600.
Yeah.
If Smart is in and it's just Pritchard and Teague is out, then I think Pritchard stays a tournament play. I don't think you need him necessarily for cash at 4,600.
Yeah. Okay, I completely agree with you there. Right now, Christian Wood is technically questionable. However, it's green on RotoWire, which means he is probable. I want to confirm that. I didn't think he was probable. I thought he was actually questionable.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything about him being ruled out. I know he was a game time decision, but he is... Yeah. I think he was more on the probable side. If he's out, I think you just go to Boogie. Boogie at 4,300, only projected at 12 minutes right now. Got tossed last game against Dallas. But I think he would be in line for, maybe 20 to 24 minutes. And we know how good he is fantasy point per minute wise and how productive he can be. So if Christian Wood is out, I think that makes Boogie a lock. But until then, I don't have any interest in Houston for cash.
Yeah. Anybody else, even with the injuries, you don't have any interest in John Wall? I notice his price tag is still at 7.4K. Does that intrigue you at all?
No, I mean, it's just Daniel House out, and he's such a low usage and fantasy point per minute guy for them already. It doesn't affect too much. So no, I don't have any interest there.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. One guy that also stuck out to me like a sore thumb when I was looking through the slate, just based on price tags, is Brook Lopez is at 4.2K. Very, very cheap. It's just a big question. Pretty much every time they play anybody for the Milwaukee Bucks is if they're going to blow them out. It doesn't make sense to be playing any one of their starters. But Brook Lopez at 4.2K, also a very good option. Middleton's actually carrying some ownership at 16.7%, and Giannis at 10.9K. Do you have any interest in the Milwaukee Bucks tonight?
Probably not in cash. I think the emergence and the addition of Bobby Portis has really hurt Brook Lopez in the minutes and his usage. I know he played 30 minutes last game, but Bobby Portis has definitely taken away from Brook Lopez a little bit there. So not really in love with him. I know he is cheap, Matt, so I wouldn't hate maybe a tournament play there.
Yeah.
But again, with Bobby Portis being there, I think that's affected obviously his rebounding and his just minutes from as a whole. So no interest there for me in cash. I mean, getting up to Giannis would obviously be fantastic. He's been playing a little bit better these last couple games as he did to start the season. And again, if Detroit can keep it close like they did last time they played, we could see Giannis play 32, 34, 36 minutes and easily pay off that 10-8 price tag. Yeah. So the thing with Giannis and Milwaukee is just if they can stay competitive in, a close game. But in terms of cash, I'm not really looking anywhere in Milwaukee.
All right. Just wanted to hear your thoughts there. So right now we have so many options spread throughout all the teams, which is why I was kind of jumping around there, guys. Not to frustrate anybody. We have Olynyk at 4.4K at the top of the board. We have Clint Capella, LaMelo Ball, PJ Washington, Andre Drummond. We talked about all those guys. George Hill is another option at 4.5K just because of his price tag. He's only projected to play 25 minutes. I guess, TJ, do you have any interest there with George Hill?
I mean, it's a good matchup against the Pelican guards. We've seen some hit or miss games from George Hill as of late. So I don't know if I really like it at 4,500 with him carrying that type of ownership. I think it's more of a fade for me, but I don't hate that matchup against the Pelicans. Right now I have interest elsewhere.
So real quick, for any of you guys that play Prize Picks, SGA had started the season out projection-wise at 40. In the past 3 times, I've taken the under on 40, and it's finally coming down to like a 37. That is free money. I don't know what the deal is with SGA having a very high projection like that, but he's been off to a very bad start to start the season. So there's a free square. I think he's at 37 now. I'd still hit the under on that, to be honest. Not a good fantasy point per minute player to start the season. Even his usage isn't that crazy. I think it was like a 26 the last time I checked, which isn't the crazy high. Not to get that 7.3K price tag. And he's also pretty chalky, TJ. Do you have any interest in SGA?
After you just roasted him and said take the under on him, I think I'm all set. No, again, good matchup against the Pelicans. I think he has some good upside in this matchup. We've yet to see him really have a productive game. His best game was opening night against Charlotte. Price tags come down quite a bit at 7,300. So not really. Maybe as a last piece in cash, I could see myself getting there, but I think I'd rather, reorganize my lineups and get a guy like Gordon Hayward, who's at 7,400. I know they're not the same position, but if I can make my lineup work where I have Hayward instead of SGA and I'm in that price range, I think I'd rather go there.
What's going on, Anchor? It's really funny. I actually mentioned your name to TJ the other day. I said, do you know what? One guy that hasn't been around is Anchor. So what's going on, man? Appreciate you coming back into the streams.
How you doing, man?
Was a $50 giveaway winner, I believe, when we first started this company. So it was actually, I remember that. All right, so let's go down the list a little bit further, and then I want to creep into some GPP territory just because I feel like we covered all the cash options here. Garrett Temple. Okay, I'm laughing as I say the name. Garrett Temple for sure. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to move? Do you want me to move on past it?
No, go ahead. He's been playing good.
17.2% in a high-paced game against Sacramento. Got 28 minutes in his last start. Are you considering him for a value play?
You talking to me?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay. Well, you made it sound like you were gonna consider him. I personally like Danny Green more than him as a value play tonight. That's just me.
Okay.
Very high over under. Yeah, I don't think you realize how many points Philly's supposed to score tonight.
Do I realize how many points? No, I mean
Danny
it's a
Green.
very high over under. We know. Yeah, Danny Green's a shooter. I'm not hating. I wasn't hating. I'm agreeing with you. I do think Temple's okay. If you are looking for value tonight, I think he is really cheap. So at 3,300, if he's gonna play, 27 minutes, then he should be able to pay off that price tag. So yeah, I don't hate him as a last piece, Matt, in cash.
Okay. Well, you keep saying you like him as a last piece, so let's hear some of your cash locks. Let's actually transit. Well, do you want to do GPPs first?
No, we can touch base on the cash lock. Sorry, I'm a little frazzled because
I know you
didn't really
I know. I just kind of threw you out there. I apologize. I'm not used to talking for 15 minutes straight.
It's not your fault. It's we got to blame my boss. So right now in terms of cash, I think my locks are going to be Drummond, LaMelo Ball. Capella's carrying a lot of ownership. He got a really big price bump to 6,700. I do think he's viable. Yeah, I like the matchup against Charlotte. He was an absolute beast against the Knicks in the first half, and then he kind of just disappeared in that second half. So I guess I wouldn't hate Capella, if you are landing on him at 6,700. But I definitely have more interest in LaMelo. I think I'm making Drummond a priority at center. Matt, I like Steph again at 9,800. I don't know if I'll be able to get there in cash, but if this is a competitive game, sign me up for Steph. I think he has a lot of upside in that matchup against the Clippers. Yeah.
Imagine if he just comes out and just makes the playoffs with this team. That would be a statement in itself.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
I got to a good start. So
I mean, I think you can start lineups with LaMelo Ball and Drummond, and then I think you can go to Embiid or Steph Curry. I think there's some decent enough value out there to make that happen. I think Kelly Olynyk's in play at 4,400. Austin Rivers, I'm not even going to mention him for cash, so pretend I didn't say that. So I think right now for me, it's going to be Drummond, Curry, and LaMelo Ball. I think those are my guys. If I could get Embiid in there, awesome. But I don't think you can physically make that work, unfortunately, just due to salary.
And for GPPs, you're fading the first half of the slate, right? And you're going to the Clippers. That's exactly what you're doing. Right?
I think you can do that. Trey Young is somebody again that I'll be looking at for tournaments. I feel like I've been looking at him all year. Good matchup against Charlotte. He should be able to absolutely cook Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier. 9,600. I don't hate him. He's at 8.7% owned right now, Matt.
I'm sorry, who?
Trey Young.
Okay. Yeah, he's showing. Hold on for me. I want to confirm. He's showing 9.5%.
Okay, yeah, so he's pretty cheap. Evan Fournier is out. All right, so that's what we were waiting on. We were waiting on Fournier.
Now the thing with the Magic, though, weren't their prices adjusted upwards anyway?
Yeah, for the most part, they were. Vooch at 8,700. Terrence Ross approaching 6K. Aaron Gordon got a bump. Fultz got a little bit of a bump.
I'm not in love with that.
Yeah.
Bless you. You all right?
Thank you. Yes. So I'm going to run numbers. I'm going to run what?
What? Your sickness. It's not.
I'm going to run. Oh, okay. I'm going to run numbers for Orlando now. If you want to talk about some GPPs that you have.
Yeah, I will. And just a second, I want to pause it real quick. We're going to do another $10 giveaway, guys. If you could do us all a favor and just smash that like button. My favorite contrarian play on the slate, if you guys have been here from the beginning, I've already talked about him. My favorite contrarian play on the slate. First one to get it, $10. We'll keep doing this until you guys stop hitting that like button. Please do show us the support. Get us to the top of the search results. We want to continue to grow this channel. I really do appreciate it. And of course, we got our first Horford question of the evening. All right.
Terrence Ross.
And Terrence Ross is on the slate. So, GPPs, guys, load up on Washington. Washington has very low ownership. Like I said, Russell Westbrook at 9.7%. You're getting a triple-double monster and a high pace-up game. Why is he only it's at 9.4 or 9.7% now. He was at 10.4. Any one of these guys, Bradley Beal, 1.7%. Why is he so low? Any one of these guys I don't know what it is. People just hate the Washington Wizards at this point. Very, very good team to target for GPPs in general. We know that they're always playing at a high pace. If Danny Green is really going to stay this low in ownership, 11.6%. People are going to roast me when he doesn't hit value, but guys, he's a shooter in a high-paced game. Me and TJ love that, okay? Even if he's only playing 26 to 28 minutes, should easily hit that value and pay off that price tag. Watch out if he does get hot. 120.5 over-under. And like I said, anybody from the Clippers is going to be low-owned, especially if we don't get that news before the slate locks, okay? Anybody. And be ready for that late-night smash spot. We did it last night. We made a ton of money. I know Elite made $10,000. Sano made over $200 in a small GPP. Guys, I'm telling you, that's how you make money in NBA. You got to wait for the late night hammers, and you got to wait for the last minute injury news. Those are my two favorite GPP teams to target, Washington and the Clippers. Also throw in some Philly. Tobias Harris has been lighting it up. Why is he so low owned? He's a 7.7K price tag. It's going to scare a lot of people off of him. And last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about Jimmy Butler. 7.3K. Don't understand the price tag. Yes, it's a pace down spot, but again, he's a superstar. I feel like he's matchup proof. He can be matchup proof. I know TJ is going to hate me for saying that against the Boston Celtics, but especially if Marcus Smart does not play tonight. That's going to be a great matchup to exploit. 8.8% owned. Love Jimmy Butler tonight. All right. TJ, you have your thoughts together?
Sample size is way too small this year with both Michael Carter-Williams and Fournier off the floor, unfortunately. But solely looking on, hold on one second.
Yeah, the sample sizes were really small in Cleveland, by the way. I did all the numbers, and like Sexton was averaging 0.8 fantasy points per minute, and that was just because the last game it was so bad. Don't pay any attention if you guys are doing some roto crunches and you're looking for that fantasy point per minute for each one of these players. Andre Drummond, I'm telling you right now, 8.6K is really, really cheap. The only thing that can stop Andre Drummond tonight is foul trouble. That's the only thing. He's going to get the minutes. He's going to get the rebounds. He's going to get the usage. We know he's one of the highest usage players on Cleveland. 19.7% owned. That's even low. Like I don't get why he's not 50% owned in GPPs. 8.6K is really, really, really cheap for Andre Drummond. Either Sexton or Drummond's going to have a ceiling game. It's probably going to be Drummond.
So Gary Clark's now starting at 3,200.
Yeah, I saw that, but that wasn't really a...
Yeah, right. But that is who directly benefited off of Michael Carter-Williams getting hurt last game. That is who subbed in for him against Cleveland when he did come out. When Michael Carter-Williams left the game in the third quarter with 5:19 left, it was Gary Clark that came in for the remainder of that third quarter and then started the fourth quarter for 3 minutes and then actually came back in to end the game with 4 minutes left when the game did ultimately blow out. So I want to see how many minutes Gary Clark is playing because at 3,200, I feel like we have another like Dotson type situation on our hands that we saw with Cleveland.
Good
like
point.
if Gary Clark's going to play 30-ish minutes, I think he makes for a decent cash option. He's a 0.69 fantasy point per minute over the last 2 years. Only a 10.5 usage as well. He's a guy that can get some rebounds, Matt. So I think he opens up some value if you're looking to kind of make a stars and scrubs type lineup. Like if you want to get Joel Embiid, if you want to get Steph in lineups, if you want to get Drummond or, Paul George, if you think they're going to do something funky with Kawhi, or if you want to get Kawhi, if you think Paul George is going to be out, I think Gary Clark opens that up a little bit and gives you some value. So something I'll be considering.
Sorry, can you do me a favor real quick, TJ, and pull up the 76ers popcorn machine? I'm going to look at their usage here on Roto for the grinders here. I want to look at a guy specifically. We're getting a lot of questions about this guy, Tyrese Maxey or Maxey.
Yep.
I think it's Maxey.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take a look at his rotations because I really don't know why he's getting 21 minutes and he's performing so well. So I'm going to answer that question for you guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Maxey benefited off of the blowout last game against Charlotte.
That's what it was.
So I think that's why his minutes were a little bit inflated. He's been playing around 20-ish minutes, but it was definitely an uptick in minutes because of the blowout against Charlotte. So I would see if it's a competitive game against Washington, he'll probably only play 15-ish minutes, with the upside of 20. So a tournament play, sure, I wouldn't land there for cash though.
Got it. All right, we're just getting a ton of questions. We got at least 3 so far. So. GPPs only.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
Gary Clark season.
Gary Clark. Let me go ahead and take a look at his minutes. So Gary Clark, last minute spot. I think he's only projected 15 right now, but that's not true.
He'll probably play. He'll probably play 26 to 30 would be my range as to where they have him pegged. So if you want to do the math and you think he's going to be a 0.67 fantasy point per minute. And he's 3,200 and he is let's say he's getting 28 minutes and he's a 0.63 fantasy point per minute. You're looking at 17.64 DraftKings points.
He's only projected 16 now. He went up from 15 to 16. That has to be wrong, right?
That's correct. That's with Fournier's minutes not being
now dispersed. They have him at 0, but I guess they don't have it updated yet. That's fine. I'll just shut up.
He's gonna play. Yeah. Just be quiet.
All right, got it.
Let's move on to some questions.
Any more GPP options before we move on to questions, though?
I mean, if Giannis is gonna be 6% owned, then yeah, definitely. Paul George, obviously, or Paul George or Kawhi, one of the two. If you want to, you obviously
Clippers.
touch base on. Okoro's starting.
I see that.
You obviously touch base on the Clippers situation. Yeah, I agree with you there. Who else am I looking at here? I talked about Trey Young. I think Levine's in a decent spot against Sacramento, especially coming off of a shooty crappy shooting night. That's what I was going to say. A shooty crappy. He played 43 minutes against Portland.
He still had value. That's funny.
It still had value. So I kind of like him as a nice tournament play at 8,300.
Levine is a definition of a ceiling player or a boomer bust player. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Russ. I like that. Rudy Gobert, I think, is in a nice spot against the Knicks. He's been, unfortunately in a couple blowouts here the last couple games against the Spurs and against Brooklyn both. Yeah. So hasn't gotten his full allotted minutes that he could potentially see. Could get mid-30s if this game is somewhat competitive against the Knicks. So I like him as a tournament play. Ben Simmons, man, at 5.5% at sub 9K against Washington. I think that's in play. I want to say Draymond Green, but I'm not going to say Draymond Green. So yeah, let's move on to questions. I think that's where my head's at in terms of tournaments.
Yeah, again, it's just all pending injury news right now. If the Clippers rule out anybody, guys, I will be all over them. I promise you that. Also, spam the chat, guys. If you have been making some money off of these late night pivots, I want to hear what you guys have been doing because we see all these things coming on our Discord, and it gives me a good idea of how the public's doing. But I want to know how you guys are doing. How are the YouTubers doing? Our YouTube subscribers? Let me know. Any news on Gordon Hayward? Here he might be out. What's going on in politics? You know what? That's a great question. So we actually don't know what's going to happen tonight. There's obviously a lot going on in politics. Not to get political or anything, but yes, some players could have their opinion tonight, depending on what side of the fence that they are on. Again, I wish we knew which ones were going to sit out. Could be a thing, could be a kneeling, standing thing. Don't know. Could be time missed. Won't know. I feel like we won't know until Fantasy Labs knows. So we will be pending that information. We'll get the live updates as soon as we get them to you guys, though. Any love for Powell in GPPs? Assuming you mean Norman Powell, is that correct? From Toronto. 22 minutes, 3.8K, only a GPP option. They're playing Phoenix. I don't mind the matchup. Yeah, it's just the ownership. That's very, very low ownership. 2.5%. Yeah, GPP. Don't mind it. He's a boomer bust player. Cash locks, question mark. TJ, did you do cash locks yet?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to think. I'm looking up this Gordon Hayward stuff.
My cash locks, my personal cash locks. You start with Drummond.
That's fake news.
And then you go to PJ Washington. I think he's a very obvious play. Him or LaMelo Ball. You have to have some exposure to that Atlanta game. That should be a shootout. And Charlotte's been playing at a faster pace, probably because of the addition of LaMelo Ball. I love some of the Charlotte chalk there. Drummond, and then Danny Green. No, I'm kidding with Danny Green. Danny Green's more of a GPP option.
I think for me, for cash, Matt, I think I'm going LaMelo Ball, Drummond. One of Steph and Embiid, and then most likely Olynyk. I just want to make sure Olynyk's starting.
I'm personally not locking any studs in from the very first couple games, at least in cash, because I want to wait for that late night pivot, or sorry, small GPPs rather, because I want to make sure I get some exposure to that Clippers roster if anybody's ruled out. How is this for a GPP lineup? Who would you take out and trade for? Have $400 left. LaMelo Ball, Dotson, Oladipo, Olynyk, Steven Adams, Steph Curry, had to look at the picture, Danny Green, and De'Aaron Fox. Very contrarian. Dotson is very low owned.
Huh? Who's De'Aaron Fox? Okay. Oh, De'Aaron Fox. Gotcha.
De'Aaron Fox. I got roasted in the comments.
I remember somebody, someone was roasting you. Yeah, so I had
whatever. Yeah. Fox. Yeah. It's very low owned. Steven Adams is very contrarian. Oladipo is very low owned, and same thing with Dotson. I don't hate it for big GPPs. Even Fox is low owned. I would get a little bit closer to cash. That's all I'll say about that. GPP lineup: Trey Young, Lou Will, Jay Crowder, PJ Washington, Olynyk, Westbrook, Batum, LaMelo Ball. Only like Batum if the Clippers are without one of their two superstars. The only person I don't like in there is Jay Crowder. Same thing with Lou Will. Only like him if the Clippers. Other than that, it's a pretty good lineup. Bring out the Corgi.
You're reading these from the Discord, correct?
Yeah. Bring out the Corgi, says Anchor. I want to let you know that TJ also got a Corgi. He'll have to bring him on stream at some point.
Chips is asleep. I can't wake him up.
Okay, you can't wake him up. Yeah, go ahead. You can read the rest of the questions.
All right, cool. Let's go to here. What do we got here for questions? You guys are awesome, all of you. I love all of you in here.
Please smash the like button, by the way, guys.
Hey, I am playing in Europe, and I always listen to your podcast. Keep up the good work. Thank you, man. We appreciate
that.
Let's see. Cash. Slothy says that sadly. So Teague is out. Yep. Okay, that was my assumption. Show me Marcus Smart.
For $800.
Nothing.
800.
So I said that I think Teague sits,
Smart
and I said that I think Marcus Smart plays. Yep. All right. So I'm the best.
So
yeah, Pritchard isn't a priority. Let's see here, guys. Hit us with some questions. Betting TJ's Corgi to not eat his slippers tonight is a control. Yeah, Chips loves my slippers. Curry or Drummond if I can't get one. I say Drummond. Thoughts on Tyler Hero tournament play? I don't hate him. He absolutely torched us last year in the bubble. So I don't know if he just loves just dominating us, but Tyler Hero. T-Ross or T-Ross, go Horford. Westbrook, Pat Bev, Bledsoe, Levine, Kawhi, Okoro, Clark, Collins, Gobert for GPPs. I like that. I like that as a FanDuel lineup. Favorite plays for tonight? I think we like Drummond. I think we like one of LaMelo. I like LaMelo. Matt likes PJ Washington. I think Kelly Olynyk's in play. He's cheap. I like Steph. I like Joel Embiid as well.
Somebody from Cleveland's going to have a very annoying good game, and it's going to be somebody low-owned. Yeah. It's going to be either Sexton, Nance, Osman, or Drummond. One of those four is going to break this. Not break it, but they're going to have a really high-scoring game.
I hope it's Drummond.
Should be Drummond. Should be him or Sexton.
Matt likes Danny Green.
I like Danny Green tonight. I really do.
Who is a forward play for cash, Matt? Let's see. Let's see who a forward play is for cash. I just exited out of our
wish
YouTube
Fantasy Cruncher had just a forward option.
Right, and not just a forward.
Yes.
And yeah. A forward play for cash tonight.
PJ Washington.
Yeah, PJ Washington's decent at 5K.
Yeah.
I think if Christian Wood's out, I think wouldn't hate Sabonis. Olynyk has power forward eligibility, so that's nice. Gordon Hayward's decent at 7,400. I don't love the forward position tonight.
Who are some?
Why is Brandon Ingram 11%? When are people going to give respect to Brandon Ingram?
Or Zion? No, Zion's trash.
No, Brandon Ingram.
All right, listen. Who is a good cash play in the 3K to 4K range? Garrett Temple and also Danny Green, in my opinion. He's cash viable. I do like Danny Green. I also like
I was
Temple.
Gonna say I like Gary Clark.
Gary Clark,
on what the minutes he's gonna see as a starter. I want to wait and see though. It hasn't been updated yet.
Yeah. I feel like he's a cash necessity, but he's not GPP. I feel like Gary Clark could have a cap just based on the overall matchup. It's gonna be a lower scoring affair.
McGee 50 bomb incoming. Okay. Is it okay to have both Drummond and Sexton in cash lineups? I think it is. I probably feel safer with one, but I think you can go two.
You need Drummond. That's all I'll say for cash. He's gonna be very high owned.
Drummond. I agree with you there. Sexton would be the outlier, obviously. But he's playing 40 minutes, so I don't know. Siakam or Booker? I like Siakam tonight.
Yeah, the thing with that team is that Sexton and Drummond have the highest usage. So, like, one or the other, like, I just keep saying this is going to have a ceiling game. I know that they're bad fantasy point per minute wise, at least Sexton is. But, again, when you have that much usage, you have to do something with it. He has the ball all the time. Literally, him and Drummond. So, they have to do something.
Thoughts on Boogie? If Christian Wood is out, then I really like Boogie for tournaments. I mean, I really like Boogie for cash, but I wouldn't touch Boogie in cash. If Christian Wood is in. Capella or Embiid? Embiid. I mean, that's got to be FanDuel, right? There's no way Capella's priced close to Embiid. Jimmy Butler in play. Yeah, Matt really likes Jimmy Butler. I think it's a really cheap price tag on him.
I do.
Wouldn't Sabonis dominate Wood? Wood is a terrible defender. Yes, Christian Wood is not the best defender. Sabonis is definitely cheap, but I still think I'd rather go Drummond at 8,600. That's just me personally. No love for Miles Turner. Miles Turner is a guy that actually rates out really well on our sheet, Matt. He doesn't really perform in terms of DraftKings points. He's always safe. He's a block monster. He'll get you a couple blocks a game, every single game.
Like his floor is 24. Like that's
but I think his floor is that, but I think his ceiling is 35.
Yeah, nothing more than 35. Right.
I just think he's a decent floor, but I think he's a really low ceiling. CP3 or Wall? Oh boy, I think I'd go CP3.
CP3 is actually relatively chalky. 18.1%.
I think I'd go CP3 honestly.
Yeah, he has a bad matchup. I mean, against Toronto. That's the only thing.
Westbrook and Beal in the same lineup for GPP's, Matt.
No, one or the other. Ceiling potential from one of them. Okay. Yeah, when you have two studs, Go ahead. When you have two studs on one team that are priced upwards, unless they score 140 plus points, you're not going to get a ceiling game from both of them. It's very tough to do. It just doesn't make it. It's just very hard. It's unless they're literally both doing everything, but that's unlikely.
Paradox said Svi, whatever his last name is, Mikhailu is his last name, is punt option with Hayes gone and possible blowout. I don't hate the logic of thinking, but I feel like you need a lot of things to go right in order to actually have that happen, come to fruition. I don't hate him at 3,500 as a tournament play. I'm kind of intrigued by Derrick Rose a little bit at 5,800 with Hayes being sidelines. I think he could get some sneaky minutes tonight. I think he could play around 30 if the game is competitive. So I kind of like him as a tournament play. PJ Tucker got 4 fantasy points in 35 minutes in a game.
Sounds like a typical PJ Tucker game.
No, that's like Okoro had. Yeah, somebody put it in. Okoro had 42 minutes last game and had 4.75 fantasy points. That's unbelievable.
Still more than me.
Yeah, way more than you. Draymond, good triple double god. Yeah, I think Draymond's more of a triple single god these days. But we'll see.
The thing is, TJ doesn't remember how much of a beast he was when he first started.
Of course I do.
Dude, he was an animal.
Of course I remember.
Like 8K.
That's when he was surrounded by Clay, by Steph. It's a different story now, and he's shooting with a backpack on his back. So, I like him more for his upside in terms of rebounding and assists than I do his scoring potential. Tobias Harris or Brandon Ingram? Oh boy, that is tough. I gotta say Ingram.
They're both good though.
Dog. Yeah, Tobias has been great,
and he's in very high over.
He's been really good. He's in a high over under for sure. But I still lean Ingram. For cash, LaMelo Ball or Smart? LaMelo Ball. Dante DiVincenzo in cash. I don't hate Dante. He's been playing really good. He's been getting a little bit of an uptick too with Connaughton being out. Played 30 minutes last game against Detroit. I think the price tag's a little bit high. I just get worried about, I think he's got more potential to have a low floor game than a higher ceiling game. So I think he's kind of capped, honestly, alongside Giannis, Middleton, and Drew. I don't think he goes anywhere north of, 32 DraftKings points. So not too sure about him. Thoughts on Delon Wright? He was an interesting story last game. He let a lot of guys down, with that whole discrepancy with Milwaukee where he didn't even play in the first half. So I think I'd play him for tournaments, not cash though. 4,100, he is really cheap. I think he has some good potential coming off the bench, but his minutes have been down before that. And, with Killian Hayes being off the floor, I do understand the thought process of potentially getting him. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous as to what we saw last game. So tournaments if you want to go there, but nothing for cash.
The starting five for Charlotte does include Gordon Hayward, so that was a question earlier if he was going to actually play. He is starting. It's fake news.
Yeah, that was fake. Yeah, that's fake news. I said fake. Oh, you probably didn't hear me. I mumbled it.
Okay.
Let's see if we have the Orlando updated minutes. We do. Gary Clark currently pegged at 25 minutes, as is Dwayne Bacon. Kem Birch at 22. Kem Birch is the most productive out of those three guys I just named between Dwayne Bacon, Gary Clark, and Kem Birch. I wish Kem Birch was playing 25 minutes because I would much rather play him in cash. Oh man, Gary Clark. I don't know if I trust you, but Gary Clark. I don't know. Gary Clark's interesting. I think there is some value there in Orlando. I think one of Kem Birch, Bacon, and Gary Clark is going to, exceed their value. I think the safest play is probably going to be Gary Clark, honestly, 3,200. Take the cheaper guy in the minutes and the guy that's starting. Thoughts on Vanvleet? Vanvleet actually rates out pretty well on her sheet, Matt. I knew you were texting because you didn't say a word or looking up stuff. Vanvleet actually rates out pretty well on her sheet. He's actually a 5.6, Matt. He's a 1.23 fantasy point per minute to start the year, 24.6% usage rate. I actually like him in tournaments tonight.
He's been really good lately against good defenses too.
Yep, it's been very good. So I do like Vanvleet.
Trash defenses. Just saw
Vooch or Drummond. Drummond for cash, Vooch for tournaments. Sexton, Butler, or Wall. I think you go Sexton in cash. Butler's so cheap, man.
Butler's so cheap. You're comparing Jimmy Butler to Sexton. What a crazy world.
Matt, who's your favorite pay-up spot tonight?
I guess stud on the slate.
Yeah, favorite pay-up.
Andre Drummond, but that's not fun.
No, go up. Higher than 9K.
Higher than 9K. Okay, it's going to be... Yeah, it's got to be Giannis. Nobody's going to be on Giannis.
Okay, I think mine's Steph.
Yeah, Steph's up there
for
too.
Steph for cash.
I feel like Giannis always has the highest ceiling just because he's a beast. He can do everything. He really can. And if that game stays close, it's just stupid how many points he can score. Very soft defense too. Also, contrarian play was Sexton. I know it's not completely contrarian that you guys are used to, but Joe, you are the winner. You're in our Discord. You know who you are. So if you're listening, I will send you over that $10 tonight. Just DM me so I don't forget. I have a ton of things going down here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So congrats, man. Congrats.
Congrats, Joe. Matt, it is 6:30.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just said that. Okay. Let's go ahead and get off then. Any last words, TJ?
Yeah, sorry guys for the late entrance. I got stuck at work. I know we didn't get to as many questions as we normally do. If you're in the Discord, feel free to add us. I'm going to be locking my lineup a little bit earlier than I have the last two nights to give you guys some love in there and to get to some questions. So hopefully if you're not a Patreon member, come sign up, come join the Discord. We have a fantastic time in there, and we've had some guys win some serious money over this last, 2 weeks of NBA. So
and they're in there to help you guys.
If you have any questions, yeah, and they're there to help you guys.
Including me. Late Night Hammer tonight is going to be with the Clippers. I'm telling you right now, I will give you direction tonight once it happens. Hopefully it does, because if not, I'm going to be screwed, especially if early chalk does hit. So with all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your night. Let's cash.
Have a good night, guys.